On World Press Freedom Day, a shocking report by the Rights and Risks Analysis Group reveals the systemic and widespread crackdown on journalists under Bangladesh's interim government led by Dr. Muhammad Yunus. In just 8 months, we're learning of 640 journalists that have faced violence, legal action, denial of accreditation, or intelligence inquiries. And media houses have been strong-armed, reporters have been sacked, and dissent has completely been throttled. Whilst the international community watches on and remains silent. Joining us on the broadcast is Suhas Chakma, Director of the Rights and Risks Analysis Group, to tell us what's really happening in Bangladesh and why the world must pay attention. Mr. Chakma, always a pleasure to have you with us on News9. Your report points to a staggering 640 journalists being targeted in just a span of 8 months. How coordinated and top-down is this assault on the press in Bangladesh? Because you've said that the repression under Dr. Muhammad Yunus is worse than any regime since 1975. And what makes this interim government's crackdown so unprecedented? Help the viewers understand what's really at play.
Well, I think one of the key issues is the intention of the interim government to remain in power till the next elections, which is serving the term which wasn't completed by Sheikh Hasina. The government, if you look at it, they have been acting as a regular government, not as an interim government. And if they have to survive in the process, then they have to crack down the media, and that's why there is a systematic crackdown on the media. On one hand, I think the state is using all its machineries, as well as it has its own students and the political parties cracking down anybody who is seen critical or who could be some way or the other be linked with the Awami League. I think what we forget in the entire process, in Bangladesh, people know that the cases have been filed. People know that journalists have faced violence. But what is more critical is that 85 journalists have received notices from Bangladesh Financial Intelligence Unit, which is the anti-terror and anti-money laundering organization. So when you issue notices to 85 senior journalists of this country, of a small country like Bangladesh, it basically means you have cracked down anybody and everybody, and actually have sent a message that you should not be reporting anything about the Yunus government or anything which could be seen to be supporting Sheikh Hasina. And therefore, at this point of time, I don't think if you're a journalist, you could report, because they just have to put pressure on the media house, and media house will sack the journalists, and it has happened. So if you look at it also, then nobody is taken to task. The political activists, especially the anti-discrimination movement led by Hasnat Abdullah, they go and barge the offices, they demand sacking of the journalists. The journalists are sacked, but somebody who has trespassed into the office, no action is taken. So it has the political sanction of the authorities, which is led by Muhammad Yunus himself, and that's, I think, the most unfortunate part. The unfortunate part is that you have a government led by a Nobel laureate. Everybody believes that this Nobel laureate is liberal. He got the Nobel Peace Prize. He will not resort to human rights violations. But show me one incident where actually the Bangladesh Financial Intelligence Unit has been used previously so widespreadly. Nobody has used against the journalists to such an extent. It actually was than Sheikh Hasina.
You know what, Mr. Chakma? I mean, with these staggering numbers that your report, has put out, international donors and human rights groups, I mean, they were once highly critical of the previous Sheikh Hasina government. Why the silence now? Why the silence in the face of such blatant press repression?
Well, I mean, you could say it's hypocrisy. They have not, been able to come to the realities that the Nobel laureate is violating human rights. So they have a completely, as you say, they have a jaundiced view. They are so much blinded by the violations which are allegedly committed by Sheikh Hasina that they cannot see. It's almost justifying the same violations by Dr. Yunus. At the end of the day, Dr. Yunus is a head of the government. He is holding, this position for the last 9 months. So he has to be held accountable for each and every action taken by the state and the non-state actors within the jurisdiction of Bangladesh. And most donors, especially they are smitten by the fact that he's a Nobel laureate. So they just can't question or imagine the fact that Nobel laureate will violate human rights. And secondly, they believe that this gentleman is carrying out reforms without the mandate to carry out the reforms. So they completely remain silent. And I think in the process, what they have done is they have enabled another dictator to emerge in Bangladesh, because at this point of time, you cannot report anything. You will be subjected to severe repression, investigation by the financial agencies, and possibly, you'll be beaten up easily by any student. So there is no safety, security, everything has collapsed. So this has enabled, because this non-criticism by the donors community and those who believe in the reforms actually has led to a situation where they have enabled Dr. Yunus to emerge as one of the dictators. He just replaced Sheikh Hasina, and I would say he's more sophisticated and more dangerous than Sheikh Hasina, because what Sheikh Hasina did was known. So people are willing to criticize it. But today, Yunus in 8 months' time has already crossed all the records which were set by Sheikh Hasina. As far as the press freedom is concerned, you have not seen under Sheikh Hasina that 85 journalists getting notices from this Bangladesh financial intelligence.
And it's so ironic, Mr. Chakma. It's so ironic that this is happening under the garb of somebody who's a Nobel laureate. And we're asking the question whether this is the next Bangladeshi dictator. You have this report. Very quickly, we're running out of time here, Mr. Chakma. You're going to be submitting this report to the UN and the global financial institutions. What action do you realistically expect? We're really running out of time, but I really want to know, what is it that you realistically expect?
Well, realistically, what we expect is that the international community, after this report, will be able to recognize the fact that, Mr. Yunus is violating human rights. And this is not our statistics. These are the reports which are placed by the local NGOs. And as far as the 85 senior journalists who have received notices from the Bangladesh, this financial intelligence unit, we have already given the names. They are published in the media. So after this, we only expect one thing, that the true face of Dr. Yunus actually comes up.
All right. Mr. Chakma, many thanks for joining us, because you're absolutely right. Fearless journalism cannot happen if everybody is, worried about nuisance to be the next nuance. It can't be that way. People have to be worried about their lives. They have to go back to their homes as well. These are, for all of us, we're all journalists at the end of the day. And for us to be the right kind of watchdog, for democracy, for all the pillars that are in function as well, it's important that safety and security of the journalists have to be maintained. Mr. Suhas Chakma, many thanks for joining us here on the broadcast.